With how beloved The Devil Wears Prada has become, it's probably not too surprising that several years later, a sequel's been produced. Named The Devil Wears Prada 2, a title Miranda Priestly herself would probably scoff at, the sequel seems mostly content to see Andy back to where she came from as she continues to seek her boss's approval. It leads to the movie having a certain sameness to it, with not a particularly exciting story. The actors all slip comfortably back into their roles, but aside from addressing how the world of journalism and magazine editing has changed since the release of the first film, we're not taken anywhere new with the characters. As soon as Andy excitedly walks into the runway office and tries to catch Miranda's attention, the whole thing feels rather familiar, and as the film plays on, we get a lot of the similar beats, and that can make for an occasionally tiring watch. It does not feel like Andy has changed that much since we last saw her in the first film, and it's left to Anne Hathaway to develop some interest in her story. Meanwhile, Miranda remains the exact same demeaning boss she was in the previous outing, so when the movie again attempts to create sympathy for her, it does not feel earned at all. However, Emily Blunt remains the standout of the cast as Miranda's other former assistant. The sharp tongue she brought to the role continues to provide the script's few amusing moments, and we also get a bit more dimension to her. Emily is the character who's the most interesting to catch up with, and where the film takes her brings an additional element. There is a message about the effect that modern technologies are having on media and journalism, showing how much that has changed since 2006. The most stakes come from seeing how Andy navigates this change in her profession and the role it has at Runway, but the film then prefers to use this to make the viewer get on Miranda's side. While Andy's former annoying boyfriend Nate is thankfully absent in The Devil Wears Prada 2, the filmmakers still like to throw her into another romance. Hathaway shares almost no chemistry with Patrick Bramwell, this subplot adds very little to her overall arc, and just ends up padding the runtime. There are long stretches where he's off screen and his presence is never missed. It might have been more daring and admirable to have her enjoy life without courting a significant other. There's not much about The Devil Wears Prada 2 that really stands out, as the filmmakers are content to keep the characters as they are. Due to the sameness of it all, Miranda's workplace culture still seems to be tolerated, even with a few lines of dialogue thrown in to highlight changing attitudes. Meryl Streep certainly plays the role well, even if she's mostly required to stare coldly, but why should we care if she's still out to keep demanding people around? This is basically comfort food, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. A more interesting story and taking the characters to new places just would have been preferable.